Hey y'all, welcome back to another hunting ammo ballistics gel test. Today we're taking it back to the classics. I've got some more 30-30 coming up for you, and today we're going to be shooting Prvi Partizan 150 grain soft point. And here's the box for that Prvi Partizan 150 grain soft point 30-30 Winchester load, flat soft point, excuse me. Let's go ahead and flip it around. Prvi Partizan doesn't really include any good promo information on their boxes. It's just some generic info about the ammunition itself. Nothing really interesting, and also there isn't velocities annotated on the box anywhere. They do have that information on their website, and I will get that information for the velocity talk here in a little while, but let's go ahead and take a look at the ammo itself, whip one out, and there it is. It's good looking stuff. We have a very nice flat soft point there. Curious to see how this does. Let's go shoot it and see what happens. And my test rifle today is my Ruger-made Marlin Model 336 Classic. It's got a 20-inch barrel, and up top I've got a Leupold VX3 HD 2.5 to 8 power scope. And coming on back, I've got to show you one of my handmade leather cartridge cuffs. This one is an antique brown color. I've got 30-30 stamped right in. Check out my website, masonleather.com. I would absolutely love to make you one. And if you're looking for a handmade super thick Latigo leather sling, I've got you covered there too. And coming around to the other side, I've got to show you my white-tailed deer design. And real quick, if you're watching this video anytime around when it came out, I'm having a huge sale on my website, masonleather.com. Go check it out and get yourself something.
We'll be taking 3 shots from 100 yards, firing into 10% ballistics gel that has been calibrated to meet the FBI's ballistics testing protocol. And while ballistics gel isn't an exact proxy for big game, it does provide a repeatable medium through which to test various bullets and ammo against each other. After the shots, we'll examine bullet expansion, weight retention, penetration, and velocity. My goal is to provide hunters like you and I with the most objective information possible to help us make the best choice for our particular hunting situation. The ballistics gel in this video has been sourced from Clear Ballistics. You can find a link in the description.
So let's go ahead and shoot it. And here are those velocities for the Prvi Partizan 150 grain 30-30 load, minimum 2308, max 2324, average 2313. And we are down here at the blocks after shooting that Prvi Partizan 150 grain soft point out of the 30-30, and we have some pretty darn good performance, I would say. It's a little bit tough to see. There's a bullet right there. There is one way down right there, and then we had one come all the way back into the third block. Now we've also got one way up front in the second block. We're not going to be counting that one because that one did table skate. It came in low, started to ride the table about halfway down, turned it around, and it did hamper penetration, so we're not going to count that one just to be objective. But penetration wise, it looks like we got about, I'm going to give that one 27.5 inches. This one right here, it's all the way down at the bottom of the block, is at about 28.5 inches. And then the one way back here, we're going to give that one 33.5 inches. Deep penetration from that Prvi Partizan 150 grain stuff out of the 30-30. And I think a big part of that is because we didn't have massive expansion, not a ton of energy dump up front. And so it held that energy and just punched on through. I came around to the other side of the block. You can see the bullets in there a little bit better. Of course, we're going to dig them out here in a second, but let's go ahead and take a look at the wound cavities up front. Seems like we start to have a little bit of a wound cavity past the 1 inch mark. Comes on back, nothing explosive at all. Tapers off by the 7 to 8 inch mark. It looks pretty standard for 150 grain 30-30 stuff. It's not an energy dump load. The 30-30 is not a 300 Win Mag. It is what it is. But what I can tell you is this load over here that I also just tested dumped a lot more energy up front, and every time this block was flying off the table. That video is coming up pretty soon. You'll have to wait and find out what that is. But let's go ahead and dig these bullets out and take a look. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and hit the metrics for that 30-30 Winchester Prvi Partizan 150 grain load. Weight retention wise, we saw 141, 141, and 143 grains for an average of 142 grains retained weight. That's 94% weight retention, so great weight retention. And then expansion wise, 0.5 inches, 0.51, and another 0.51 inches for an average of about 0.51 inches expanded diameter. So not the widest 30-30 load out there at the end of the day. I would have liked to have seen a bit more expansion. And that works out to 1.6x expansion. Velocity wise, our high velocity was 2325, our low was 2308. for an average of 23.14 versus the factory build velocity, which I found on Prvi Partizan's website, of 23.79. So we only came in 65 feet per second slower than factory spec, which isn't bad at all. And the next 30-30 load that I test, that video will be coming out soon, you'll have to wait to see what it is, actually exceeded the factory spec velocity, so there's that. And our estimated velocity at impact at 100 yards is about 1,967 feet per second. Penetration-wise, that's where this load really does shine, and I think it's because of that lack of expansion. We saw 27.5, 28.5, and 33.5 inches for an average of 30 inches of penetration. So if you need a 30-30 load that's going to go really deep, I think this might be the one for you. With a caveat, there are some other 30-30 loads that have better metrics across the board that also penetrate very deep. And kinetic energy wise, with a 150 grain bullet going on average 2,314 feet per second, we're looking at 1,783 foot-pounds at the muzzle and 1,288 foot-pounds at 100 yards, which is about par for the course for a 150 grain 30-30 load. And a quick announcement before we get to my final thoughts: if you'd like early access to my videos weeks and even months in advance of everyone else, become a channel member. The links will be in the video description and the pinned comment. Thanks, y'all. All right, y'all, time for my final thoughts on that Prvi Partizan 150 grain soft point load out of the 30-30. I think it did okay. I wish it would have expanded a bit more. It definitely penetrated deep, but I like to see a balance, and this didn't really do that. Now, keep in mind, this is an extremely budget-friendly ammo, so if you're looking for some stuff just to blast, or you're just budget conscious and want something that will definitely drop a deer if you put the bullet in the right spot, I think this is a good option for you. And I will say that a long time ago, not anytime recently, I have killed some wild hogs with this ammo out of my Winchester 94. It worked just fine. Now, granted, I was going for headshots, but hey, this would be a good option for that. It doesn't expand a whole ton and it penetrates, so it'll crack that noggin. So all in all, I think it's a budget ammo that performs pretty good for what it is. If you've used this stuff, let me and everybody else know how it did down in the comments. And check out my website, masonleather.com, and get yourself some leather gear handmade by me just for you. I've been handcrafting leather gear for hunters for over a decade, and I would love to make you something. And there are hundreds of reviews on my website, so you can see what real hunters have to say about their Mason leather gear. And also tons of photos showing all the customizable options, including name, initial, and caliber stamping, as well as wild game designs and more. Everything is handmade by me right here in the USA. I would love to be a part of your hunt through my leather gear. And it helps support this channel, so I can bring you more hunting ammo ballistics gel tests, and lots of other cool stuff in the future. The link will be in the video description and the pinned comment, or you can just type masonleather.com into your web browser.
And click one of these cards for more hunting ammo ballistics gel tests.